If the game is growing, you earlier mentioned how we have developed from Cameroon in 2021, 2022. You see the level of tournament delivered in Ivory Coast about a year and a half ago. Morocco, and people have confessed that during the AFCON 2025, they couldn't tell at some point whether they were watching the European Championship or the World Cup, except that it was two African teams that were playing.
But we've also seen African players representing European nations. Yeah. So maybe you were watching the World Cup. Sure.
The game is, and what excites me the most is about the commercialization of the African game. So if all these good things are happening and the game is growing, the AFCON is growing rapidly, why the decision to move the AFCON to a 4-year tournament instead of the 2 years?
I think that President Motsepe has taken time to explain, and when, to say the truth, when the proposal came before the executive committee, we were unanimous in our decision, because we had to look at the entire situation holistically. The commercialization, obviously, you mentioned of the product offering, in quote, the need to situate the competition at a time and period that will not be worrying to the main actors, which is the players, and to ensure that at every given time we don't have constant and consistent fights with our brothers from the other continents, especially mainland Europe, where at a point we are hosting our tournaments, European leagues are also in session and there's constant battles. But most importantly, it also gives us the chance to introduce the African Nations League, which will be a yearly tournament. Also, you can also say a super, or CAF president will say AFCON Plus, where all 54 member associations can now compete, and not a fraction of the member associations, because we also want to develop products that will bring in the commercial value. Okay. And creating the space for the African Nations League, which takes care of all 54 member associations year in, year out, and then the main AFCON over a 4-year cycle for us is fantastic.
Okay, we'll come back to the African Nations League, but it looks like the decision was taken with the European interest in mind, and this is something that many has criticized CAF for, that the decision is more in the interest of European clubs.
I think they are wrong. I don't think I do agree with that. We're thinking about also the African interests. Our interest is to have a competition with all our super players in attendance. We want to have a competition with our players coming in with free mindsets to come and play. We also know that we don't live in this world in isolation. We live in a world where our players are employed by people, by clubs across the globe. And we don't want to be in constant fight with our partners. That is not realistic. So it was always important for us to look at what is in our best interests. Okay, given the fact that FIFA in themselves are now looking at how to reorganize the international match calendar. Don't forget the new way, where September, October, November, all leagues across the world will break, and it will only be for international games. Okay, so that is a period where we'll be playing our Nations League. So from September, October, November, Nations League is taking place, the whole of Africa, on a zonal basis. So, for example, in the west of Africa, we have WAFU A and WAFU B joining together, 16 countries, one platform. I mean, you're going to have derbies here, Ghana versus Senegal, Ghana versus Nigeria, Ghana versus Ivory Coast, big games, big atmospheres, and that brings economic returns, and that's what we're looking at. And at the end, the champions meet again on one platform, and the winner is determined, and the prize money again in excess of 10 million. So it may, I understand the concerns of many, especially the fact that all of us were born into an AFCON cycle which ran over 2 years. So we are used to. We are used to that. And to change is always difficult. Change is always a difficult subject. So people usually fight change. But at the end, when it is practiced over a period of time, we will all see the benefits. I mean, when Dr. Mosepe was taking over the reins of African football, there were people who also had their doubts, but today they see the vision, they see the hard work being done, and they appreciate not only the work that he has done, but also the way he's been able to court and to have support of FIFA in achieving the collective vision of the African League.
But with the Nations League, will we not be overly stressing the players?
No, because the whole world will come to a standstill watching the Nations League because it's an international calendar. FIFA says that September, October, November will be a dedicated period for international games. So everybody's free, the players will be free from club activities, and every single top player will be available for their member association.
Is this likely to affect the traditional AFCON calendar? Are we possibly looking at moving the AFCON to September, October, November?
I think it's a subject which is being discussed. The AFCON will always be the AFCON. Over the new 4-year cycle, we'll pitch it at a time that everybody will be happy with. And I think that there are very, very good intentions behind the decisions that has been taken, and all of us who sit on the executive committee, obviously representing individual member associations, and most importantly the continent, are aware of our responsibilities towards the growth of the game on the African continent. So we wouldn't take decisions that will be, somebody will say, inimical to the development of the sport, and we believe that at this moment this is the best